Here we are visualizing the VizDrone training dataset in the ActiveLoop UI, and we see this dataset has about 6,500 samples. Now, unfortunately, a lot of the samples look like the one here, where the annotations of the objects are extremely tiny. So these cars are really far in the distance, and this is something that's not very relevant for our application, and it's also extremely hard for object detection models to be trained on this type of data. And so let's filter it out. So what we can do is, in this query engine, we can use our SQL style query language combined with this NumPy style logic to filter out all the images that contain any objects of label car that have either the width or the height less than 20. Now, we could get more elaborate here on the query that we run, but most images contain cars, and so simply filtering based on cars alone and their size is a good proxy for distance from the camera. And so let's run that query. So we see that there are still certain cases where the cars are fairly small, but the problem is not nearly as pronounced as it was before. In general, the smallest objects, or rather the samples containing the really small objects at a far distance, have been eliminated. And we see that now we have about 3,000 samples that met the query condition, so about half of the data has been eliminated. And now when we run this query, we can click on Save Query Result. And then if we look at the query history, we can copy and paste this query ID, and then we'll load that in Python API and then train a model based only on the data that met this query condition. And then we repeat the exact same process for our validation dataset in terms of filtering out the small samples.